Okay, section 1.3, distance and midpoints. Basically for this you're going to have a lot of formulas. Okay? First of all, do you guys understand what a number line is? You guys remember what a number line is? Remember that straight line that went across, going on forever and ever, where in the middle you had what? 0. One, two, three, 4, -1, -2, -3, -4. You guys remember what a number line is, correct? Any questions on that? Negatives take you to the what? Left. Positives take you right. How about the coordinate plane? I'm not going to go into this in great detail. Coordinate plane, you basically have two number lines, don't you? One that represents the vertical, one that represents horizontal. The horizontal one is called the what axis? X-axis. And the vertical is what? Y-axis. An ordered pair. What's first? The X what? Coordinate. And then the second one is the Y what? Coordinate. So you either go right or left, and then you go what? Up or down. Any questions on that? Obviously that's something that you ought to be pretty familiar with, agreed? We're basically going to have some formulas today for distance and the midpoint. Is everybody okay with the stuff on top? And in essence, we're going to have two situations. On a number line and in a coordinate plane. I'm not sure if that's what the book says. In layman's term, this is find the distance between two points. What is the distance? How far it is from one to the other, correct? You basically just, it doesn't matter if it's x2 minus x1 or x1 minus x2, you subtract the coordinate of each one, and then you take the absolute value of it. You guys remember what absolute value is? Anybody? Huh? Distance from zero. What does the absolute value always have to be? Why is that? Because it's a distance. So in a way, because we say we're talking about distance, you almost don't need the absolute value sign, but in essence, you have to remember that the distance is always positive. You didn't the negative and the positive can sometimes, when talking about going, is direction. But when I talk about just the flat distance between two things, I'm not worried about direction, just how far apart they are. So that answer always needs to be positive. So hence, why it's the absolute value. So can you have a -5 units? Is it -5 miles as a distance? No, it's 5 miles. That's why the order of these two does not matter. Now, distance in a coordinate plane. Think in the book, you'll have something like this: x2 minus x1. Take the square of it, the square root of all of this, y2 minus y1 squared. And this is for x1 comma y1 and x2 comma y2. We're just getting these formulas down so we have them, and they'll be, and then we'll apply them to some problems. Another way to think of this, and this is the way I always thought about it: square root of, subtract my x's, square it, add it to, subtract my what? My y's, square it. Now I said the distance has to be positive. I didn't have an absolute value here. Does anybody know why I don't need an absolute value? The reason is because of this squared right here. Even if I get a negative underneath here, what's a negative times a negative always going to be? Huh? Positive. So when you square a number, whether it's positive or whether it's negative, your answer will always be positive. So that's why this will always come out positive. This looks much more complicated than what it is. Let you guys get that. Midpoint. You know what you do for midpoint? How could I say it in layman's terms? Add your x's, then divide by what? 2. In a coordinate plane. Nice thing about this is it's a little different. It's just because there's x's and y's, you basically have to do the midpoint formula for on a number line for each number line. And what I mean by that is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, that is your x-coordinate of your midpoint. How do you think you find the y-coordinate? Exact same thing, except what? y1 plus y2 divided by 2. You add your x's, divide by 2. Then you, for the other coordinate, you add your what? Y's, divide by 2. Okay, those are our formulas. What we are going to do is we are going to apply these to some problems. Some of you are better off just when you have formulas using the things on top there. That's why I do both. Some people are better understanding the concept. To me, and this is just me, but to me it was easier to remember that I subtract my x's, square them, plus subtract my y's, square them. When I was younger, for some reason, when I was y'all's age or younger, the x2 and x1, I remember on slope, always messed with me. It's like, wait a second, that's not a squared, right? It's what's that 2 and the 1? Why do they have that down there? Does anybody know? That's why I always talk about this, because it just confused me when I was y'all's age. It's one thing I remember about high school. Realize that x2 and x1, for instance, it's frozen. This right here, this x2, x1. Understand that the only reason that's there is to let you know that I'm talking about an x-coordinate. Okay, that's why I want to use the x. So you're talking about an x-coordinate, the first number in an ordered pair, right? Well, the x1 is, this point over here. x2 means, that x-coordinate over there. It's just a way of saying, okay, this x over here and this x over what? There. And then be able to say the y1, that y1 has to go with the what? x1, so that's why they use that. The y2 has to go with the what? x2. It's just a way of saying point 1 you can think of, and point what? 2. Location 1, location 2. It doesn't matter which one's first, because they're going to be positive either way. You could say x, and the book may very well say this, x2 minus x1, because they're so used to saying that. It doesn't matter, because you're taking the what? Absolute value. A negative 5 will become a what? 5. A positive 5 will stay a what? 5. All right, let's all get out our workbooks. Now, this will bug some of you unmercifully. A lot of people get mad at me about this, like, I want you to look at number 1. Do you have to use a formula to find the distance from L to N? We're on a number line here, correct? And I'm on page 5. What is the distance between L and N? Okay. Now, one thing also to remember to do is first look at your number line. Sometimes you'll have a number line with marks like this. What's the difference between the one I just wrote? What does each mark represent? A half, right? So if you were counting, you'd have to use halves, wouldn't you? Here, though, each one is, they just left off the odd numbers, didn't they? Okay, so each one's 1. All you guys did is look up here and say, okay, to get the L to N, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? I understand that you can do that. That's great. But however, over here, I want you to do absolute value. What is the coordinate of L? Huh? Minus, what's the coordinate of N? What is that? Absolute value of negative 6, which is what? Do I realize that takes longer? Yes. Now, I'll let you just count on one condition. I can give you 20 problems, and you have to draw the picture every time, and I'll make the coordinate of L 55 and the coordinate of N negative 123, and ask you to count them. You understand what I'm getting at there? How many of you want to draw a number line that has 123 marks? Or let's see, negative, it has about 200 marks. Would that be any fun at all? No. How many even want to try to count that? That'd take a little longer than just going what? 58 minus a negative 123. Okay? So that's why you need to know the formula, because not everything is going to be nice and pretty on your picture and just go. Understood? There are a lot of much bigger numbers out there. K to N. I am going to subtract my two sets of coordinates. What is the coordinate for K? What is my coordinate for N? What is that? I know this is minus, but it's a negative. You got 2 negatives here, 9 negatives here, and you're combining them. It leaves you a total of what? 11 negatives, which is what? Let's do this one. Except I want you to give me the let's give me the coordinates of L first. What's the coordinates of L? 3 minus, what's the coordinates of J? You have to say minus a negative 5 there. If you don't, what's going to happen? You're going to get the wrong answer. Why is that? What do you guys remember about algebra? Minus a negative is a what? So this is 3 plus 5, right? So the answer is what? I want to see the formula when you do these problems. When you do a problem like number 5. You better somewhere write down these coordinates, shouldn't you? What are the coordinates of F? To the left, 1, 2, 3. So negative what? And then down what? So that's the coordinate of F, is it not? What are the coordinates of G? To the right what? 1, and then up what? So the distance formula is always like this, is it not? I just put my x's in there and my what? What are my x coordinates to put in here? What's the x coordinate of F? What is the x coordinate of G? What is the y coordinate of F? What is the y coordinate of G? Now it's just a matter of simplifying, is it not? Negative 3 minus 1 is a negative 4 squared, plus negative 2 minus 1 is a negative 3 squared. What is negative 4 squared? 16. 4 times 4. Positive 16. 3 times 3. What do I get? Square root of what? What's the answer? What does square root mean? What number could I square and get 25 as an answer? If this is a perfect square underneath the square root, which we'll get into later on in the year when we start dealing with Pythagorean's theorem and dealing with square roots more, it comes out even. But if that is not a perfect square for The next perfect square is 9. Then you're going to have a non-terminating, non-repeating decimal. So you'll need to round it to the nearest hundredth if they don't say. Any questions on that? These in here any different than that one? What do you guys think? No. The only difference is what? Instead of having a picture, they already did that part for you. You didn't have to use the picture, did you? There's your X's. There's your Y's. Down here, they ask us to use this picture to find the coordinate of the... Are they asking for distance here? They're asking for what? Okay, midpoint. I add my coordinates and divide by 2. That's all it is. D to E. What's my coordinates of D? 7. Plus, what are the coordinates of E? Huh? 11 divided by 2. That's 18 divided by 2. What's the coordinate of the midpoint? 9. Could you have looked at this and gotten it? Probably, yeah. 2 on that side, 2 on that side. But this is what I expect to see every time. Think we can do that? Pretty easy, isn't it? Find the coordinates of the midpoint of segment with the given endpoints. The only difference between this problem and this one up here is I have 2 things to find the endpoint. I need to find the midpoint between 3 and 5. So I go 3 plus 5 because those are my x's, correct? And I divide by what? To find the y coordinate, I do what? Add my y's, which is what? 1 plus 3, and I divide by what? 3 plus 5 is what? Huh? Divided by 2 is? 4 comma 1 plus 3 is? Only one person knows what 1 plus 3 is in here. 1 plus 3 is? Divided by 2? There we go. Wake up. That's the coordinates of the midpoint right there. You're done. Then there's ones like number 20, 19, 20, and 21. Need to pay attention to this. These always mess with everybody. They're not that bad. Let's do number 20 right here. Number 20 says n is 5 comma 4 and p is 6 comma 3. Now it looks just like the ones above it, does it not? Except the difference here is it says find the coordinates of the missing endpoint. So what's happening here is you have coordinates, and it's not necessarily left or right, and then you've got the midpoint. They gave you the coordinates for this, but maybe want you to find the coordinates of the other one. Does that make sense? Well, how do you find the x-coordinate of the midpoint? How do we do it up above here? What did I do? I added my what? X's and divided by what? So I went x1 plus x2 and then divided by 2, correct? How did I find the y-coordinate of my midpoint? Up here. What did I do? Add the y's, y1 plus y2, and then divided by 2. What they've done in this problem is they've given you P, which is the what? Midpoint, and they've given you one of the endpoints. this is the x-coordinate of your midpoint here, isn't it? And the y-coordinate of your midpoint. So basically what they've done is they've given you, everybody watch, you can write it down after we're done. They've given you a number for this, have they not? What's the x-coordinate of our midpoint? What do they say is the midpoint? P, right? In the directions, find the coordinates of the missing endpoint if P is the midpoint. So P is the midpoint. Have they given me the x-coordinate of our midpoint? What is it? Have they given me an x-coordinate for one of my endpoints? That one right there. They've given me one that's what? 5, right? Agreed? Plus, did they give me the other x-coordinate for my endpoint? That's the one they want me to find, right? That's the one I don't know. So how about I put what? X right there. Then I'm going to divide all of that by what? Now, don't write. Look up here. In this problem up here, I had the exact same formula. It's just I gave you a number for that and for that, correct? And it gave you that, right? In this problem, they've just done something different. They've given you a number for this and a number for this and asked you to find what? That. They gave you 2 of the 3 unknowns, right? And then you're supposed to solve for the last one. Now, if you look here, the thing that's what's going to throw everybody off about this problem? The fact that there is a what? Fraction, right? Get rid of that. Every time you do one of these problems, first step, if I multiply this by 2 over 1 or 2, what's going to happen here? They divide into 1, leaving just what? 5 plus x over here. But if I multiply everything on the right side by 2, what do I have to do? Multiply everything on the what? Left side by 2. Leaving 12 equal to what? 5 plus x. Now, is that an equation you guys have the ability to solve? What's your next step? What's x equal to? So Q's x-coordinate right now I know is what? 7. And how do I know it's Q? Well, they said what? And what? So that's how I found that. Now, how am I going to find y? Like I said, don't write. Pay attention. It's the same thing. They gave me a number for the y-coordinate of the midpoint, didn't they? 3, right? They gave me one of my endpoints. Right here, what is it? Plus the other y I don't know, divided by what? What's the first thing I did over here in the same type equation? Multiplied both sides by 2, correct? What am I left with on the left? Equal to, what happens to my 2's? Leaving what? What's your next step? Y is equal to? There's your answer.